Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to COD Connected. My name's Garrett Drake, and today I have the privilege of talking about Aliens Fireteam Elite. I was able to go hands-on for the past couple of days, courtesy of Cold Iron Studios and Focus Home Interactive, and so far, having a good bit of fun. It is a third-person, cooperative, multiplayer, action-adventure type shooter that, for lack of a better description, I describe as a cross between like a horde mode, like Left 4 Dead meets Gears of War. So a lot of familiar aspects to the gameplay. Admittedly, I am an Aliens fan. I mean, I love Aliens. I can really honestly find the enjoyment in any Alien movie, even after those. Even Aliens 3, Prometheus, Alien Covenant. I mean, they're not all great, but I have been a longtime fan of the franchise, and Xenomorphs in particular. And all the Alien games I played over the years have, of course, been hit or miss. Most recently, Alien Isolation was probably the best to date. Absolutely fantastic. Very much look forward to a sequel to that, but Fireteam Elite is really Aliens, the movie brought to life, I think, in a lot of ways. I have long thought that a game either based on the movie itself or gameplay that sort of simulated the action-packed nature of that movie would be a whole lot of fun. And there are many facets to this game that I've gone over in my head of what I'd like to see instead and what I like about it, what I don't like about it, but I'll break it all down, kind of give you the basic gist of what the game's all about, what the preview build's like in particular, and how I feel about it. So like I said, it is a cooperative multiplayer shooter, and there are multiple classes in the game that you'd come to expect from any horde-based game these days. I mean, other games that come to mind are, of course, Evolve, even classes like Destiny. They're not quite that bombastic and wild, but they're all a little different in some ways, and they all kind of play off each other in each round, in each match, each chapter of the campaign. So there's a gunner, demolisher, technician, and doc. So the gunner carries your basic pulse rifle, a shotgun. His abilities include overclock, which greatly increases the fire rate of you and your allies. He has a frag grenade and this kind of damage multiplier buff that you can enable, all set on cooldown. And all of these abilities across each class can all be upgraded via perks that are all unlocked as you continue to play through the game. You can also go into each round with various consumables like trip mines, mini turrets, a bunch of different stuff. The Demolisher also runs around with a pulse rifle, but also has a smart gun that's sort of a glorified mini turret that you run around with that deals heavy damage. And this class primarily deals with crowd control. He has a rocket barrage, he has a blast wave that deals concussive damage, sort of in an AoE effect. The Technician carries a Magnum handgun, shotgun, or a submachine gun, can drop down a mini turret, and the Doc carries a trauma station that can heal you and your allies, and combat stims that increase accuracy and stability by 50%. Out of all of them so far, my preferences have been Demolisher and Technician. I like being tactical with the Technician, setting up turrets. Demolisher's cool with crowd control because there is a surprising amount of enemies on screen at a time. I, believe it or not, actually stuck to casual difficulty most of my time playing the game because standard I found was pretty manageable up until the very end of each mission where the final waves come at you and it becomes so overwhelming that I would die every single time. Can't imagine what it's like on Insane. I imagine it's that times 10. But even on casual, it's a pretty fair, challenging experience. You have infinite amount of death, so you can die, I'm pretty sure, as many times as you want and continue playing and not fail the mission. Whereas standard, you can die up to 4 times and be revived, but after that 4th death, the match ends. I've been playing on PC and it feels absolutely phenomenal. I think that's probably the best news. It's very snappy, very responsive, feels silky smooth. I've had very little stutters with frame rates, minimal glitches as well, so for a beta preview build, it's pretty rock solid. But so far, although the game functions, it works. I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it whatsoever. It just feels a little uninspired to me. Between the classes and even just the wave-based gameplay, the enemy types feel very familiar in a lot of ways. Enemies include your basic cannon fodder xenomorphs that go down very easy. They come in waves, several at a time, sometimes dozens. There are prowlers that'll chase after you, hide around corners and tackle you and deal heavy damage if they get on top of you. There are spitters that spit acid at you from afar. There are bursters that charge you and explode on impact. And there are warriors, which are the big, tall, spooky xenomorphs that will run out, maul you, and then go hide somewhere and just continually come after you, intermittently until you bring them down. Collectively, all of them act differently. They all present their various challenges, and I imagine the game's probably best experienced on Insane. There's also a cover system similar to Gears of War that I found I rarely used on both casual and standard because I was able to take down a lot of these enemies from afar before they got too close. But I imagine spitters, for example, on Insane deal pretty significant damage and would give you more of a reason to take cover and deal with them behind cover versus just charging at them full speed. The enemies are fun to shoot at. All the weapons are fun to use. All of the perks, all of the classes, but it's just nothing necessarily new or original. I feel like I played this game 100 times before. I think the benefits are that it is an Alien game. I think Alien fans will be satisfied with the fact that it's Aliens meets action-packed third-person shooting gameplay. But if you were to remove the Alien skin off of it, I think the bones underneath are a million other wave-based third-person shooters you played before. And I may be slightly biased because I've never fallen in love with games like this whatsoever. I've enjoyed some in the past, but I've never played them extensively, and they've never been anything I've wanted to go back to after playing them. But in the way the game's currently functioning, it's pretty rock solid. Each campaign mission is broken up into 3 parts, which is truly alleviating because you are relentlessly shooting at aliens from beginning to end of each match, and it is a little exhausting. Again, it's not difficult on casual and not so much on standard either, but there are very few minutes to just stop and take a breather. And while the first campaign mission is very reminiscent of Aliens the movie and tight corridors of a freighter lost in space, I was pretty bored by the end of it, and I think that's because each mission, aside from just more difficult waves as you progress through each section of the map, there's not really anything that really ties up the overall experience. I think it'd be cool if there were really intense, difficult boss battles or more interesting objectives to complete throughout, because aside from just shooting the aliens, you're only ever going up to varying consoles, opening doors or activating security systems or doing any number of things, but it's the exact same action every time. You run up to a console, you hold F, it enables it, and you continue on. So something a little more interesting. I mean, again, I'm not a game designer, but there's got to be something to spice up the experience each match, whether it's completing some sort of a puzzle or defeating a boss or doing something a little more, I don't know, nuanced aside from just activating consoles. Another aspect I kind of find disengaging about the experience is that a lot of the characters lack personality and intrigue overall, whether it's in the gameplay itself or in the hub world where you can upgrade your weapons and talk to various NPCs. A big part of that is that none of the NPCs' mouths actually animate with what they're saying. They just stand there blank-faced. I mean, their voice may be full of emotion and expression, but that is not visually expressed on the characters' faces, so that's pretty disengaging. And the characters themselves are basically just vessels you fill. I imagine this game cooperatively with friends can be a lot more fun because your own personalities are coming through these characters, but if you're playing with bots, they don't communicate, and the only person really talking to you the whole time is the NPC back at base that's sort of directing your path and telling you what to do. Now, if you have a group of friends, I could be totally wrong with this being disengaging. It'd actually, I imagine, be a lot of fun. But for players who can't play as frequently with friends and have to play with bots, it'd be pretty cool if they had characters as interesting as, say, Sigourney Weaver or Bill Paxton to sort of liven up the experience. I wouldn't be surprised if their likeness and character models was added to the game later on. And not necessarily them, but characters of their likeness that you could interact with, whether it's in the base or between missions, could be really interesting. Visually, the game looks fine. It's not by any means gorgeous, but graphically, it holds up for a modern shooter. I'd expect more out of Xbox Series X, PS5, and of course a high-end PC. I'm playing in 2K, maxed out settings, and I don't think a higher resolution would really make it look any better, aside from just being more clear, because textures are pretty standard, which, again, it's a smaller studio. I wouldn't expect anything more. Does not look bad, just doesn't look spectacular. Audio, on the other hand, is pretty outstanding. The Xenomorphs sound great. All the weapons sound cool. You even have the classic 80s assault rifle from the movie sound effect that sounds pretty awesome. Additionally, there's some pretty cool customization. You can create your character from scratch at the beginning with everything you come to expect between skin tone, eye color, facial hair, male, female. And that also ties into the various classes. Gunners have different outfits, from demolishers, technicians, docs, etc. There are decals, weapon skins. So even in the preview build, there's a fair amount of content to play with to really personalize your experience. Overall, I think the game has a lot of potential. I did have fun with it. I was a little bored by the end of each match because it's just kind of the same thing over and over and over again. I'm an Aliens fan. I love shooters, but this one's just a little uninspired, and it grew a little stale for me by the end of the preview. But I'd love to hear from Aliens fans, fans of horde mode shooters. If you love these types of games, if you love the franchise, you may get a lot more out of it than I did. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it and wait for reviews, but I'm thankful I had the opportunity to preview it. It's releasing on August 24th for Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PS5, PS4, and Steam. In the meantime, we have a ton of gameplay on our channel for each class, and we'll be talking about it a little more in depth on the next episode of Press X to Podcast, so keep an eye out for that. And although this is a preview video and you probably haven't played the game yet, if you got anything out of this video or the footage you've seen, please share your thoughts with me in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. I always respond, so please don't hesitate.